dangerous political storm is blowing through the Maldives. The island nation's young democracy is under threat. At the heart of the upheaval, my guest today, former President Mohamed Nasheed. On February the 7th, he quit, the victim, he says, of a de facto coup. His successor, the former vice president, denies that and is trying to form a government of national unity. Amid furious protests and violent clashes, is the ousted president pushing his country to the brink of chaos? Mohamed Nasheed in the Maldivian capital, Male. Welcome to Hard Talk, and let me begin with a very simple first question. On February the 7th, you resigned. A short time later, you announced that you'd been the victim of a coup. Tell me now, what really happened?
On the 6th of this month, at about 5 o'clock in the morning, I went to the National Security Headquarters because there were mutinous police outside, and then I wanted the military to see if they will arrest them. I asked the military to arrest them. I worked on it till about 11 in the morning the next day, but the military refused, and later on they joined with the police, and both together gave me an ultimatum that I should resign within 1 hour. In front of that kind of hostility and the threats that they were very clearly demonstrating to everyone, I resigned because I did not want the military, neither the police, to use arms and start shooting at the people. Neither did I want the police to storm the National Security Headquarters. In the interest of the people and in the interest of peace, I decided that the best thing at that time, actually, the only thing at that time I could do was resign, and therefore I resigned under duress.
If I may just stop you there for a second, Mr. Nasheed, I want to be very clear about this. Some sources close to you have suggested that when you made that public declaration of resignation, you literally had guns pointed at your head. Is that your claim or not?
No, that's a literal, I don't think literally, no, there was no guns aimed at my head at that point, but I had resigned by the time I gave the statement. They had already taken a letter out of me by the time I gave the statement. So the statement was after the resignation.
You see, we have statements from several people. If I may just give you one example, from the current president, Mohamed Wahid Hassan, who of course was vice president at this time, before you'd actually resigned. He says that he saw you voluntarily writing out the letter of resignation, putting on your best suit, going to make your statement. He says it is entirely untrue to say that there was a coup d'etat.
Stephen, he was not there. He wouldn't have seen me writing the letter. There were 3 military personnel right in front of me, and then there were about 18 more others a few steps behind me. The vice president wasn't there. This was quite unusual that he wasn't there.
How do you explain the fact that the Indian High Commission is quoted by Indian media sources as saying that you had spoken to them hours before the resignation and had explained that because of the unrest in your country, because of the potential for great bloodshed, you had decided to quit the presidential office? That sounds to me like a resignation. It doesn't sound like a coup.
Decided to quit because there was a mutinous police force outside, and the national security forces had joined the police in mutiny, and they had given me an ultimatum that if I did not resign within 1 hour, they would resort to use arms. They said that they will use arms on me and on the people.
Isn't the truth that you resigned because you failed? You failed to maintain the security of your nation, the most fundamental duty of any president, and you had lost control of many of the people in your country, including people inside your own armed forces. You had failed.
Well, you have to understand that the Maldives is a very tender democracy. After 30 years of dictatorship, we had a new constitution and we are in the process of consolidated democracy. Now, we are, unlike in the past, we did not purge the police, we did not purge the military, neither did we arrest anyone from the opposition or from the previous administration from the dictatorship. We wanted to see how we may be able to work with people. We wanted to see how we may be able to do things more amicably. I did not remove anyone from the military, neither did I remove anyone from the police. The idea was that we will be able to work it out so that democracy can be consolidated over a period of time. While we were doing it all along, the previous regime, the old dictatorship, the old order has always been trying to come back. And with the help of the police and with the help of the military, they forced me to resign and they are back. It's not Dr. Wahid, it's the old order in a new facade. Dr. Wahid is the vice president. Of course, he knew about the coup, he knew what was going on, and now the old order is back again. We have to get the Maldives back on track. We have to have democracy here. Our people had high aspirations in implementing the new constitution, and they still want to see the constitution implemented, and they still want to see democracy ongoing. You have to have a look at what is happening in the Maldives. There are hundreds of people out on the streets, thousands of people out on the street, and they all want to continue with the democratic establishment work that we were doing. That is why people are out on the streets. That is why people are calling for an election. I have been removed from office forcefully, and now we cannot let the illegitimate government run. We have to have fresh elections in the Maldives as quickly as possible.